Hey guys, I hope you guys are having a good day and I hope you're being good, okay? Alright, I hope I get a good report tomorrow. Alright, so let's jump in back into the American Revolution and finish up. We are almost done with this unit. Alright, so let's go back over some of those vocabulary words that are going to be on your test Friday. So this is chapter 4. You guys hopefully will remember these. We've been talking about them for a couple of weeks. Which word would mean... Sorry, I was trying to get my highlighter. There we go. Which word means 20? Good score. Well, that was not the highlighter, apparently. Give me a second. There we go. Score. Alright. Which word means like you go back, you back up from danger? Good. Retreat. Yeah, you guys can just yell these out. Alright, what about this one is a person and their job is to like go to other countries and talk to them. Yep, Ben Franklin was one of these. It's an ambassador. Good. Remember, that was his job. He went to England and he talked to the king and tried to get us to get along. Alright, which one of these is like the bullets or the cannonballs that you put into your weapons? Awesome, ammunition. What about which one of these left is like a written document where you list things or you say things? Yeah, declaration. Remember, it's like declarative sentences. Yeah, they just tell you something. And then which one of these means like you make something better or stronger? Good, fortify. And then this last one, casualty. Remember, casualties are the people who what? Yeah, they're the people who either died or were injured in battle. So that's what a casualty is. Awesome. Alright, what about chapter 5? We also saw these words, and we've been working on these for a few weeks. So, which two words are kind of like when you have a plan, a strategy to do something? Yes, tactics and strategic. That's when you have like a plan that you want to do something or you want to win. Which one means like something is bad, not going well, it's not good? Bleak, yep, bleak. Which one means like you give up, you quit fighting? Yep, surrender, you give up and you quit fighting. Which one of these is like the place where the battles were happening? Yeah, it was the front. They had to go to the front. That means they went where the battle was happening. Alright, 2 words left. This word is like, kind of like your mood or how you're feeling. And you can have high of this or kind of low of this. Yeah, morale. Very good. You can have high morale, which means like you're happy, excited. Or low morale is like when you're sad or depressed. Alright, and then that leaves confront. And remember, confront is like when you go up and you talk to somebody or you kind of meet them. A lot of times you confront them because you guys are having a problem. Maybe somebody, I don't know, stole your phone. You would go up and confront them about it. You would be like, hey, you've got my phone, give it back. That would be a confront. Alright, good job. Sorry guys, excuse me. Alright, so that leaves us, our final chapter is chapter 6. And these will be the words for chapter 6. I know you've not seen these ones before. They have been on your homework calendar all week though, so hopefully you actually have seen these before. But we're just going to go over them really quick today before we read the chapter. Alright, so impress. That one you guys probably know. Like if you impress somebody, you are kind of making them think that you are cool or you are good. And when you you are impressed, you're kind of like surprised and shocked and kind of like excited. All right, a bayonet. A bayonet is this knife that they would put on the end of a gun, and it kind of made it even more lethal. Like, not only could you shoot your gun, but you can actually stab people with it now too if you have a bayonet on it. And I bet I have a picture of a bayonet. Yep, there it is. This piece right here, that's the bayonet, and they could attach it onto the end of their oh gosh, what were the name of those guns? Muskets. Yeah, muskets. You guys knew it. Yeah. They can attach them onto their muskets, and it made it, after they shoot, they could still stab. So there's a bayonet. All right, going back. All right, foraging. We've been reading those stories in our Simple Solutions about kind of like where he's dreaming, and it's almost like he's gone back in the past. And it kind of seems like he's with Indians because they're making canoes. That's what I thought. He kind of with like an Indian tribe. And Indian tribes always foraged for stuff in the woods. They were foraging for bark and they were foraging for roots. What do you think foraging means? Yeah, searching and looking for something. If you're foraging, you are searching and looking. All right. Mr. Washington, George Washington, he's going to have to recruit some more people to join his army. What do you think recruit means? Yeah, he wants them to join. If you're recruiting, you're kind of trying to get them to join you, to come with you. Reinforce is kind of like fortify. They also have the for in it too. The fortify and reinforce, they both kind of mean make it stronger, make it better. So those two almost mean the same thing. And convoy and fleet kind of mean the same thing too. A convoy is just a big group of vehicles. It can be a convoy of tanks. It could be a convoy of trucks. It could be a convoy of motorcycles, I guess. Any kind of vehicle is a convoy, just a big group of them. If it's a big group of ships, though, that's a fleet. So a fleet would be a bunch of ships all at one time. This would be a bunch of vehicles. That's the differences. All right, let's look at just a couple of these and see if you guys can guess them. What are you thinking? Yeah, it's probably recruit. Because remember, recruit means join, and they're saying join us. Yeah, they want you to join them. Yeah, you know that one. That one is the bayonet. What about those people? What do you think they're doing? Oh, I bet they're foraging. Yeah, because remember, foraging means searching and looking for stuff, usually in the woods when you're foraging for something. And that's what they're doing. Maybe they're foraging for something to eat or something. Oh. Yeah, this could be a fleet because it's a fleet of ships. You might have even said convoy. But now remember, convoy is usually not a group of ships. It's like a group of vehicles with wheels. A fleet would be the group of ships. We'll try one more. Oh, yeah, impress. Impressed because she's saying, wow, it looks like she's surprised. She's kind of impressed by it. That's what impress means. Like you're shocked and you're like impressed. You think it's cool. Awesome. All right, so now we are going to be ready to read chapter 6. So go ahead and get out your book. I'll give you a second to do that. Chapter 6 is going to begin on page 48. So go ahead and get out your book and find page 48. And if you need to pause this video while you're searching for the book, go ahead and pause it. Alright, hopefully we all have our books now and we are on page 48. Yep, 48. Alright, so if you remember at the end of chapter 5, we left George Washington and the Continental Army in Valley Forge for the winter. because that's what, armies did. We talked about how they would camp for the winter because it was just too cold to keep fighting. So do you guys remember how Washington and his men were doing in Valley Forge? Yeah, it wasn't going good, was it? They didn't have enough blankets. They didn't have enough supplies. They didn't have boots or socks. They didn't have food. They had built these little huts to kind of live in, but they didn't have any windows, and all the smoke was in there from their fires, and they were coughing. People were getting sick. Yeah, it said every day they were having to bury some of their comrades, some of their friends. So it was not going well. That's where we left them last time. So now that we're on page 48, let's read that. So let's get my book up in here. There we go. Page 48. Your page should look like this too. Alright, so I'm going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to ask you guys to read a little bit. So, alright, so I'll start. There's a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The winter of 1777 to 1778 was a difficult time for Washington and his men. Those who survived that winter in Valley Forge came to think that they were strong enough to survive just about anything. In February 1778, the French military entered the war to fight alongside the Continental Army. France was a longtime enemy of Great Britain, so they welcomed the opportunity to assist the colonists in their fight against the British. This was good news for the colonists. France had a strong, organized military. French involvement meant help was on the way. If you guys remember, we proved to the French that we could finally win, and they jumped in and they helped us. Alright, so then, in late February, a man with a heavy German accent arrived in Valley Forge. And guys, look at this man's name. It says his name was Frederick William Ludolf Gerhard Augustin von Steuben. How many names does that dude have? Gosh. We're just going to call him Von Steuben. And please don't be like some of my other classes. They called this poor man Von Stupid. Don't do that. Yeah, it's not funny. Von Steuben. Let's stick to his real name here. Von Steuben. Alright, so the purpose for his arrival began during the previous summer when Von Steuben traveled to Paris to volunteer his services to the Count de Saint-Germain, the French Minister of War. Saint-Germain had been so impressed with Von Steuben's military experience that he sent him across the Atlantic Ocean to meet George Washington. George Washington was equally impressed, and he asked Von Steuben to train his soldiers. There was just one problem. Von Steuben knew only a few words of English, so he shouted his commands in German, and then someone would translate the words into English. So it sounds like we got somebody else to help us besides the French. Who else came to help us? What was his name? Von Steuben. Yes, Von Steuben. Don't call him that other name. Alright, so here's your turn to read. You are going to read about some of the things that Von Steuben did and some of the other things that happened, and then you're going to answer number 1 on your test. If you haven't passed out the test yet, you can go ahead and, while you're pausing the video to read, you can pass out the test because you need to read page 49 to answer number 1 on the test. Don't go any farther. Just do number 1 right now. So read this page, answer number 1, and then you can restart the video. Alright, hopefully you've read that page, answer number 1. So let's get to the next part of our book. The next part is called The Beginning of the End. So what do you think this part's going to be about? Yeah, I think it's going to be the end of the war because it's the beginning of the end. That makes it sound like the war's about to end. Let's find out. Alright, so page 50. Alright, the beginning of the end. In August 1781, Cornwallis and his men camped at Yorktown at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. They were waiting for reinforcements and supplies. And if you remember, guys, Cornwallis is the name of like the other the commander of the British Army. Remember, Washington's in charge of our army, the Continental Army. Cornwallis is in charge of the British Army. Alright, so he's kind of waiting for reinforcements and supplies. So while Cornwallis was setting up camp at Yorktown, Washington was meeting with several French generals outside New York City. The French had sent thousands of troops to assist Washington. Now Washington and the French generals had to decide how to best utilize these new troops. Should they attack the British in New York City, or should they head south and attack Cornwallis in Virginia? So remember, the French came to help. It sounds like George Washington is trying to figure out with the French what should they do. It sounds like they could go and attack New York City. I remember we lost a battle there once. I guess we're trying to fight again in New York City. Or we could go down and get like the general of the army here, this Cornwallis guy. And he's down here in like Virginia. So they're trying to kind of decide what to do. Eventually, they decided to march the main Continental Army and most of the French troops south to Virginia and try to trap Cornwallis. But Washington was crafty. He sent out fake messages to make the British think he was actually going to attack New York. The British were fooled by the messages. In late September, Washington arrived at Yorktown with 4,000 French soldiers and 3,000 Continental soldiers. The Major General of the Continental Army was the Marquis de Lafayette, and he was a French guy, but he was actually helping in our army. These new soldiers reinforced Lafayette's men, who were already there. The French Navy arrived as well, and one of the first things they did was drive away a convoy of British ships that were carrying supplies for Cornwallis and his men. That was when Cornwallis knew he was in trouble. He was cornered by the French and the Continental armies, and the French Navy had cut off his escape route as well as his supplies. The French and Continental armies set up cannons and began firing on the British. For days, the guns fired constantly. Washington gave orders to fire through the night so the British would not have any quiet time to rest or make repairs. Cornwallis and his men could not protect themselves, and because of the position of the French fleet, they could not sail away. Eventually, on October the 19th, 1781, Cornwallis accepted that he had no choice but to surrender. Wow! Awesome, we beat him. There's a picture of it, kind of this battle that happened. Alright. Thousands of people who lived in nearby towns and villages came out to watch the official surrender. The Continental Army lined up on one side of the road and the French on the other. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the British Army marched between the lines of French and Continental troops to surrender. And there was a man who was there. He wrote about what it was like when they surrendered. But yeah, the British had to march down the road right between us to show that they'd surrendered to us. Alright, and here's some more about the surrender and how the war finally ended. You are going to have to read just page 54 right here. If you finish page 54, you will be able to finish the rest of the test. So you read the rest of 54 and answer the rest of the questions on the test, okay? It's only got 5 questions, but please use your book. Go back in, find the information. Miss Kim will help you. If you ask, she can show you what page it might have been on, and she can guide you to kind of look up the text evidence to prove and find these answers, okay? All right. Good luck. And we've won the war. We're done. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.